Hello. Good morning. It is Friday morning and it is time for a real estate chat. So we've got some good questions in queue that we can go ahead and answer. And in addition, I would like to catch everybody up on this past week that we have had. So it's been pretty fun. We closed on 5 or 6 properties last week. Again, we're working that strategy where the majority of the stuff that we're purchasing is either already rented, rent ready, or an extraordinarily light rehab project. So that's been fun seeing that take place. However, things move quick. It's really weird. It's kind of like a lagging indicator because now, one of the things that we like to do for all the contractors that we regularly work with is kind of always have a property kind of in the hopper for them. And now there's a need for us to start purchasing some larger rehab projects in order to keep our crews busy. So it is a real balancing act, and one where I think this is probably one of the first times that we're ever really experiencing it, because right now we're working with more contractors than we ever have been. And we, are growing at a rate where, man, having 40 or 50 vacancies going into winter is something that might be a reality for us. We would like that number to be significantly lower, but with the number of crews that we have at this point, that might be the number that we need to maintain in order to always kind of have a property for someone to go to next. So we're still trying to sort this out. It's been fun. It has been a very rewarding experience and a rewarding place to be in. It's really cool to be able to think through things, kind of be agile, and change strategies kind of at a moment's notice. So my brother and I both come from kind of government organizations. He was in the Navy. I was in law enforcement. And, these organizations are ones where it is very difficult to get the slightest of movements or changes inside of an organization. So we have a lot of fun being an agile small business and being able to adapt to situations and pivot really quickly. So that's about where we are. It's a lot of fun, though. All right. One of the comments that we got on the YouTube channel over the week was from Teresa Bradford. She said, "Hi, Ryan. I'm so glad to find you on YouTube. I'm interested in purchasing a foreclosure, and the information is very informative. Keep up the good work. Also, I'm from Ohio." That's fun. And that was a comment on the my first foreclosure video, which is fun. That's probably one of the ways or one of the videos that I should start making again are those deals explained, or talking about the purchase prices of homes, the amount of rehab that we put in, and all of that. So we can probably do one because we have recently spent the most amount of money on one property that we ever have in kind of doing that rehab project. So it would be fun to walk through that one and kind of look at the before and after photos. So that one, we spent a total of about $63,000 on the rehab so far. We still have to address some exterior issues, do some landscaping. We're actually going to get that one ready to sell. So hopefully that money was well spent. But we purchased that house for $95,000, so it's been really good. It's a really nice house. It is a 4-bed, 2-bath house, and it's got a lot of character to it. So that's fun. All right. Another question: how to micro invest my way into these investment areas? I still have lots of learning, though I'm trying not to be spectating the entire time while I'm learning. I think that's okay. Micro invest, I'm not so sure. I guess smaller amounts. Maybe you don't have enough money to purchase a single family home outright, or even maybe you don't necessarily have the down payment. So when it comes to making smaller investments, like if you've got like $1,000 to $5,000 that you have free to invest, I would just hold tight. I would hold tight and continue learning. I don't think it's necessarily bad to be a spectator while you're learning. I would say that the mistakes, there's a really big kind of learning curve that you can experience, and if you learn the right way by reading as much as you can about the areas of investing that you're interested in, by surrounding yourself with people that already invest in those areas. Um, and before you make any moves, consulting with people who you have in your network that have already accomplished the things that you're looking to, and take their advice on things. Um, I would say that is going to allow you to circumvent a lot of kind of trial and error. I think that's one of the things that my brother and I did very well. And I truly think that we have, circumvented decades of trial and error that had we not formed that network and sought the opinion of wiser people, we would have made significantly more mistakes than we did. And that surely would have impeded our growth a lot. So while you're learning, while you're building your network, um, it's okay to be a spectator. Now, I will say that if you are looking for additional capital, then you getting involved in real estate investing doesn't necessarily have anything to do with, purchasing properties. You could easily raise capital by finding other people deals, by learning to be involved in some way in real estate investing. There was a brief period of time where one of the things that I did as I was getting involved in real estate investing is I worked for a really small paint company, and I would go out and do quotes. Now, I don't for that I would quote for that paint company and try to sell some paint jobs. So there are a lot of different ways that you can learn about real estate, be involved in real estate investing, and use the experience to both build capital and become more familiar with the industry, and also, providing value to the people that you want to be in your network. So if you've got a smaller amount of money that isn't necessarily enough to purchase your first property, I wouldn't suggest investing it. I would hold on, learn more skills, uh, provide the marketplace with more value, build your network, and keep feverishly saving to take down your first deal. And I think once you start working on deal finding, then I think you're gonna pretty quickly find some ways to increase your capital a lot. I mean, I accidentally wholesaled a property at one point that was truly just a right time, right place type situation. But I think I was able to make somewhere between 10 and 15,000 on that. So I didn't do it on purpose. I don't actively go out trying to wholesale. But from a starting perspective, um, wholesaling properties is a pretty quick way to make some money. And, really the extent of what wholesaling a property looks like is getting good at finding deals. So once you find some good deals, and you're also networking with people that are actively investing in the type of real estate investing that you are interested in, it's just kind of a natural fit because you need both of those strengths in order to become a really solid real estate investor. So that's my answer. Don't micro invest your way into these investment areas. Continue to build yourself, keep your money, start building your investment account without making any investments. Work on your skill set, work on the appropriate disciplines in order to have money just sitting there on the sidelines, and constantly be working on yourself and your network. There you go. All right, let me get all set up. Post your questions in the chat if you have any. Let me get this disclaimer rolling. Say this is not legal or professional advice, and that you should seek professional counsel prior to taking any action. That's always really important. One of the things that I really love about real estate investing and probably just money in general is, especially with real estate investing, is there's just as many different ways to make money in real estate investing as there are people investing in real estate. So each of the viewers on here, everybody that really ever hears this, your situation is unique, and the strategies that got my brother and I to where we are might not be the same path that you take to get to where you eventually will go. So, hey, different strokes for different folks. And in real estate investing, there is no limit on how creative you can get or how you kind of are able to make money in this industry. So just get out there, learn a lot, and try hard. That's what I would say. I think one of the things that's funny about real estate investing as well is there's always so much news or so many, people trying to make predictions about what the market's going to do. And I get it that 2008 has happened, in the not so recent past. So, some preparedness or, um, speculation is probably inevitable. But for the most part, we've been investing in real estate since 2017. When I bought my first property, I was listening to all the podcasts, reading all the books that I can, and everybody was predicting a crash in the near future, and that just never happened. And here we are, 6 years later, and people are still speculating that crash. And surely, just like trying to predict your death, like with every day you don't die, the probability of you dying the next day is going to increase a little bit, right? And I think the real estate investing market is the same. So a crash or correction, something is going to happen. But at this point, the people that have been waiting or predicting on that for 6 years, you have lost a significant amount of time and a significant amount of opportunity to build a real estate investing portfolio. I think most places define, a real estate correction as being about like 30% or more, right? So your down payment most of the time is going to be around 20, 25%. Even if you are able to get into deals with no money down, you're still looking at like a 75% loan to value as being what you can borrow against that property. So, you're looking at all things even, like a 5% difference. You might be upside down in that property by 5%. Well, if it's on long-term debt where you have a loan that's 75% loan to value, then that's going to work itself out over the next couple of years. If you are, making your mortgage payments, and if you analyze the property on the front end for cash flow, if you're not speculating on appreciation. So one of the most common questions that everybody wants to know is it too late to invest in real estate, or is it too early to invest in real estate? And when I think about this, especially in terms of like a long-term perspective of 30 years, which is what a lot of these loans are amortized to, a old Chinese proverb, I think, comes to mind. That's what the internet says that it is. But saying that the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, the second best time is today, right? So I would say as soon as you can purchase your first property, so long as you analyze that property appropriately, you should buy that. I recently listened to a book by Howard Marks. I know I talked about this a lot, and it was called The Most Important Thing. You should read that book. And one of the things that I really appreciate about that book is, he said, we make the best decisions we possibly can with all of the information that we currently have on hand. And really thinking through that and kind of allowing that to, sink into my thought process, that gives me comfort. And hey, I'm analyzing this property today. Of all of the options available to me, I think this is one of the best ones. I think if I can get this property for X amount of dollars, then it's a good deal. If we purchase this property for that amount, then it's going to cash flow this amount monthly, right? If you are doing that on every deal, let's say, the market does correct. Well, even if the market corrects, you're still getting your cash flow. So, hey, if you play your cards right, if you are in the real estate investing game long enough, then you are going to experience the appreciation, the principal pay down, and the tax benefits of owning the real estate. Now, cash flow is a very small percentage of this, but the appreciation and the principal pay down, well, next to, buying right, those are the most important things. And both of those are really reliant on time. The more time that passes, the better off, the more of those two things you're going to experience. So if you have the money to do so, if you have worked diligently to learn all that you can about how to analyze properties, about your market, if you are mildly comfortable with what the city has planned for itself, right? Is it attempting to attract new businesses? Are they working on their own infrastructure? If the city's putting money in themselves, if you can find things that support the future of the area that you're investing in, if you're analyzing these properties appropriately, then you shouldn't wait. I mean, don't let these kind of macroeconomic indicators really deter you from making the appropriate, the educated moves for your, personal financial situation. Because in the event that everything crashes, right? Because you can really get, sucked into a lot of rabbit holes about the uncertainty of the future and about all of the things in economics that we have to fear. And, I've made a couple of videos about being, kind of resilient in recessions. And, I think the most important thing is, if that's what you're trying to hedge against, is realizing that so much of this is out of your control. And so long as, a government still exists that allows private businesses to meet the needs of its people, then you have opportunity to pivot and continue to provide value to the marketplace and get compensated accordingly. So make educated decisions, work, diligently to gather some information, and then pull the trigger once you're comfortable that you are in fact making a good deal. Don't wait. Don't sit around over speculating, over analyzing. You could have all of the knowledge in the world, but if you never take any action, all of your knowledge is useless. So I would say don't wait to invest in real estate. It is not too late. I think all of the successful real estate investors that I have spoken to that are, still investing in real estate from 2008, one of the only things that they say is they wish they bought more, right? And I was in a conversation recently with a guy that has a couple of hundred properties, and he said that a recession for real estate investors means that you should double down and you should ramp up your acquisitions, not that you should shy away. So I would be very protective of the information that you put in your head. And I would make sure that on a daily basis, you are moving the needle forward on your personal financial life. What a long tangent to answer a simple question about, is it too late to invest in real estate? Let's see here. Another one of my favorite people that I talk to regularly gave me some good advice. And I was trying to figure out, I can't remember what situation I was attempting to navigate. I think it was whenever I was starting one of the businesses. I was about to take a leap and start a new business and go like solely out on my own. I think it was the insurance agency. Now I'm sitting here piecing this together. Like whenever I decided to kind of leave the place I was at and start my own insurance agency, the advice that I got was, navigating this is going to be like walking down a set of steps in some really heavy fog. Like you can't see the bottom of the staircase, but you can see the next step. And you take that next step. And then when you're on that step, you're nice and sound, you look down and the fog breaks just enough for you to see the one ahead of you. And it's going to do that all the way down. The most important thing is that you keep, making sure that you are looking as intently as you can through the fog, seeing that next step, and then taking action to move there. And eventually you're going to get to the bottom of that stairwell, despite of that heavy fog that prevents you from seeing the exact location of it. And I would say realistically, that's how most people navigate recessions, economic uncertainty, or even, the great times from an economic perspective. It's impossible to see, but hey, moving forward and taking those next steps, definitely the most important thing that you can do. So we've got 7 people on. I have rambled a lot. There are no questions in the chats, not even some good mornings. So let me see if I have any more questions that I can go through, any more rants that I can go on. Let me also check really quick to figure out when our first closing is. So the first closing is at 9:30 this morning. So I got about 30 minutes left. That won't be an issue at all, as there are no questions, but I can make some decent videos and answer some of the questions that have come in. Hey, thanks, Charles. I appreciate it. Good morning. All right, let's see. Let me get back to these sheet of questions. If you're on here every Friday, you have probably heard me answer this question before, but it has come up again. And that is the difference between a HELOC and a cash out refinance and which one might be the best for you. So I think the most simple way to answer this question is that a HELOC, the home equity line of credit, acts more like a credit card. You only pay interest on that as you utilize those funds. Now, because it's collateralized by your home, it's generally at a much better interest rate than a credit card would be. So I think the home equity line of credit is a great option if you have enough equity in your personal home to go out and pay for the renovations on a property. Now, I think the only thing that you should be careful of is understanding that with a home equity line of credit, the money that you use, it has strings attached to it. All of the money that you put out into the world needs to at some point come back to pay off that home equity line of credit. Now, each bank offers different terms. There are a lot of different products out there for this. So, some have a kind of like a 10-year period where you're able to use that, and then they might amortize into like a payback period or something like that. So I would definitely get very familiar with the home equity line of credit if you're going to use that. And one of the things that I'm always leery of is using short-term debt to acquire long-term assets. So I think a good rule of thumb that one of our business coaches told us is, in the event that you have like a line of credit. Now, this doesn't necessarily apply to home equity line of credits, because again, you might have like a 10-year period where you can utilize these funds. But for the most part, a good rule of thumb is if it is short-term debt, then you're going to want to use that for short-term assets, generally like working capital. Like if you need to buy inventory and sell it, if you're going to buy a property, immediately list it without doing any work to it in hopes of flipping it. I would say that is more of a short-term asset. Now, where you get in trouble is if you're using short-term debt to buy long-term assets, because getting the financing straight on a long-term asset is definitely going to be a little bit more difficult and time-consuming to kind of structure a refinance on that to pay off a short-term line of credit. You could get yourself into some time crunches, and that could not turn out well. However, if you verify that if you get a home equity line of credit and it's got like a 10-year borrowing period, then you're probably going to be okay. That's a long time to negotiate and structure like a refinance on a long-term asset, like a single family home or something like that, if you plan on using this home equity line of credit to either acquire or renovate a property. Now, if you have the ability to, then I definitely think that doing a cash out refinance would be a better option, because as soon as you do that cash out refinance on your home, that money that comes into your bank account, it's going to be sitting there. Unlike the HELOC, it's not going to be like a debt account. That's going to be just cash in your bank. Now, that cash in your bank has no strings. You're going to have to pay that out over 30 years, whatever your amortization period on your new loan is. But you are free in the meantime to use those funds that you were like from the cash out refi however you see fit. And there's no time constraints on when that money needs to come back in. The only thing that I would say is just make sure that you use those funds for additional assets or additional streams of revenue that increase your position. Don't use it for any type of consumption of your life, right? But that's pretty rudimentary stuff. So you are and you will be paying interest on all of that money from the cash out, unlike if you were to use a home equity line of credit. However, just from a personal perspective, I really appreciate the fact that the funds from a cash out don't have any strings attached to it. Once that is closed, you're free to go out, acquire a property, rehab a property. If a life event happens and you aren't able to get the rehab done as fast as you think you are, or if you decide that you don't want to refinance that property because rates went up or something, then you're not on any time constraint, and there's no fear of any time constraints based on your existing funding. The only thing that I would say in kind of like the situation that we're in right now, interest rates got so low that a lot of people's mortgages right now are in the 1s, 2s, and 3% ranges. So refinancing to pull some cash out at 8% isn't nearly as appealing as just getting a home equity line of credit and utilizing those funds that way. So that way you're able to keep that really low interest rate that you have on your mortgage currently, and also take advantage of the equity in your home. If you were to do a cash out refi, then you would be, paying off that really low underlying mortgage that you have. So in today's market, with rates having increased the way that they have after being at historic lows, I would say in the event that you have the opportunity to do so, a home equity line of credit would likely be the better option. But again, everybody's situation is very unique and very individual. To summarize that really quickly, a HELOC versus a cash out refinance. A HELOC operates very similar to a credit card. You only pay the interest as you use that debt account. Cash out refi, from the moment that closes, there's no strings attached to the money or the proceeds from that cash out refi. Both of them should exclusively be used to go out, buy additional assets, or somehow increase your revenue streams. And there you have it, the difference between a HELOC and a cash out refi. Is it too late to invest in real estate? No, it's not. And then I just want to reiterate on the fact that, we comb through these questions, and one of the things that we do is we are constantly researching like what YouTube wants us to talk about, what type of videos that we can make that would likely trigger a large amount of views, right? And I think one of the issues that I have, especially in times like this, right, where you are, typing in real estate, you're looking to get started in real estate, and every time you search something on the World Wide Web, something about the market crash comes up. Now, this happened just so far. So since we've been investing in real estate, I started this YouTube channel in 2020, and the market was doing really well then, right? And I don't have any knowledge about how YouTube treated real estate investing stuff between 2016 and 2020. Because I wasn't studying it, trying to make videos, trying to get views and subscribers. But I will say that even when real estate was really strong the algorithm and the suggestions of what to talk about have always been about trying to forecast the next crash. And I was looking through last night in preparations of making these videos, and I kind of wish I could do like a screen recording to do this. But every single suggestion that predicted a high number of views had something to do with an impending crash, which, if that is what people are typing in, and though that is what, most people want to watch, then this is kind of like a lagging indicator, right? It's what the people are looking for. It's what's going to get the most views. But at the same time, if this is what's going to get a lot of views, then that's what people that are on YouTube that are trying to get a lot of views and subscribers are, kind of incentivized to make videos about. And, I don't know about you, but I'm not necessarily getting my economic futures reports from predictions on what video I can make that makes the best views. They're completely independent of each other. So there is a fine line between educating yourself and by really awesome means that are available to us now. Like, you could YouTube anything and get some great advice and, circumvent some trial and error time by finding out the appropriate way to do it. But, it's a double-edged sword because, if everybody is being asked to make videos about impeding recessions, regardless of what the market is or isn't doing, then it kind of becomes like an untrustworthy way to educate yourself. You think that you are, paying attention because you're tapped into all of these people that have a lot of subscribers and that talk about real estate frequently. But all they're really doing is making videos that people will watch because, you get paid via the ads that are displayed while people are watching the videos, and you want the most viewers. Prediction, very high. What if the housing prices drop? You get some lower purchase prices. I think, and when we're talking about, in the same vein, if when interest rates were really low, the market became pretty competitive. The housing prices shot up. Now people are not complaining about the interest rates; they're complaining about the housing prices. Well, now that the interest rates are going up, the housing prices are dropping. And people aren't saying, oh, this is now a great opportunity. Now they're saying, well, nobody can afford it because the rates are too high. Well, you can't have it both ways, right? You can't complain about the same thing, kind of regardless of the situation, right? So if you're going to complain about it, then you probably shouldn't be investing in real estate. And, if you're going to pivot and adapt your business model accordingly, I think that's the appropriate action. That's what you should do. So what if housing prices drop? You should buy more properties. One of the things that I heard recently that someone said that I think is genius is, marry the property and date the mortgage. Housing mortgage rates are high right now. They won't be forever. The deed, that's not going to transfer until you decide that it's going to transfer. You owning the property is a long-term thing. Your ability to refinance a property, you can do that whenever. You could refi your mortgage on an annual basis if you want. So my suggestion, if housing prices drop, if it's an area that you want to be committed in long-term, then you should buy more of those properties as you're able to. You should play an active role in getting started in real estate investing and, rebuilding your community or making your, community stronger by having a property under your control that's not going to accumulate any deferred maintenance and that are going to treat the residents of that property very well. So if prices drop, buy more. Buy now or wait. View prediction very high. Should you still buy a house in 2022? Yes, you should. As you should have bought a house in 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, and all the way back. And the people that bought houses in the years further back as you go that have generated more appreciation and more principal pay down if they use leverage, they've got more time in it, which is a really big deal in any type of investment. So if you talk to people that have bought homes long ago, then their biggest gripe to themselves is a complaint that they wish they bought more, right? So we have been through a lot of different corrections, a lot of different macroeconomic phases throughout that time. But I think real estate investing is one of those things that's always going to say very strong. You should buy more. Again, that proverb, which may or may not actually be some type of old Chinese proverb, who knows? I didn't do any research, but it really resonated with me. And that is that the best time to buy or the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. Good morning. Just intently listening. I've been on some good rambles today. What percentage do you pay yourself from your portfolio? I don't really think it is like a set percentage. My brother and I, when we got started in this, we really already had full-time jobs and we didn't, pull any money from the business, and we kept that up for many, many years. We recently started paying ourselves. I would say in the past, year, we started paying ourselves. I'm not so sure there's a percentage to it though. It's a very small amount. I mean, I think for the longest time, it was like $3,000 per month. And that was when we had more than 200 homes. So, I think it's this really weird thing that happens in that people build a business to improve their quality of life and to make more money than if they were working somewhere else. However, in most businesses, one of the quickest ways to make it not grow is by taking a lot of money out for your own consumption, right? So, once your business gets big enough, it kind of operates the same as you and your own household, right? So, like, the more you can limit your expenses, the more money that you have left over at the end of the month to invest in. Similarly, the more you limit your consumption from your own business, the more funds you have available to go out and continue to grow. So we live comfortably. We are very happy, but regardless of the size of your business, I would say if you have the means to sustain your lifestyle from a different way than from your own business, you should do that. And allow your business to accumulate funds and reinvest, and then eventually, kind of hire someone else to help you with the workload of your business, but not take it for yourself, right? So, hiring our first person was really difficult, and we paid that person more than we ever paid ourselves. But look where it's gotten us. It's allowed us to scale because we didn't choke out the business from our own consumption. And I think that's just really important to keep in mind. So, I watched a little clip from Warren Buffett earlier today, and it was, he's notorious for only paying himself a salary of $100,000 per year. Now, almost all of his wealth is exclusively in Berkshire Hathaway stock, and that is, a paper balance sheet. And I know that, hey, I'm sure he has, paid a lot through like businesses, had a lot of business expenses. It's not like, I don't really know much. And I guess I shouldn't assume, like, maybe his lifestyle is 100% congruent with someone making $100,000 salary. But all that to say, while he has the ability to pay himself significantly more, choosing not do that puts himself and his business in a much better situation. So it's really about what's important to you. And I see a lot of these, kind of online real estate websites, how to get started in real estate investing, how to be financially free. All of these are predicated on figuring out how much your monthly expenses are and then figuring out how much cash flow you can regularly get based on, some really rough analysis of a property and get that number of properties where the cash flow per month covers all of your monthly expenses. And that is all well and good. But if you do that, you're putting yourself in a situation where you're going to be able to pay for your living expenses, but you are fully utilizing the funds available for further growth for your business. So it's really not a good way to approach the situation, in my opinion. And I also strongly dislike the fact that these rough kind of rudimentary analysis of properties that a lot of people often talk about when it comes to real estate investing do not account for the fact that these capital expenditure items, they really don't care about your paper analysis of a property. A roof is going to go out when that roof goes out, and it doesn't care if you've only owned the property for 10 months and your capital expenditure budget is $150 per month and that you only have now $1,500 to replace this $10,000 roof. It doesn't care. So in the event that you analyze the property in a manner and you analyze your financial freedom in a manner where you're dependent upon that $200 or $300 per property per month cash flow, and a roof goes out that costs $10,000, where does that money come from, right? If you have that money in your capital expenditure budget, great. Well, now you need to replenish that because the roof is not the only thing that's going to go wrong with that property while you own it. So you have to replenish that. And the only way that you can do that from this analysis is by temporarily no longer taking that income, that $200 or $300 per month for yourself, and putting it back into the business to replenish your capital expenditure fund or to pay that off. So these people that talk about how they have achieved financial freedom by having 20 properties or 40 properties are full of it. It's not truthful. It's not truthful at all. Perhaps it gave them the courage to walk away from their job, but guaranteed there's going to be 1 month when their 20 property portfolio where a lot of different things go wrong, and that takes up all of the cash flow that they had planned on taking out for themselves. Now you've got two options at that point, right? You can do the right thing, which is fix it, or what I have seen a lot of people that live off of their properties solely alone do, and that's defer the maintenance. And now, sure, it's possible to patch something, do it wrong the first time, but at what expense? Now you're not going to be able to get retail value for your property. Now you're going to have a resident that knows that if something breaks, you're going to take the cheap route. You're not going to fix it the right way the first time, and that has its own detriments. So if your two options are pay yourself, keep your personal finances in straight by stealing from the business, by kind of choking it out a little bit, hey, I guess that's your right to do so, but it's going to hurt you in the long run. The short term, if that's all the cash flow that you're living on and all that you're planning on, well, you're going to have to borrow that money from somewhere. So now you're going to live off of a credit card that month. Well, now you're falling behind. So owning rental properties, experiencing financial freedom off rental properties is a lot like, how insurance companies underwrite their, products. It would be absolutely impossible for one insurance company to provide insurance on one vehicle. You could not collect enough premium from that one vehicle to cover all of the things that could potentially go wrong with it, right? You couldn't do the same for 10 cars, or probably 20. But if you're looking at a really large number, 30, 40, 50 cars, well, now it becomes more probable. You're starting to play off, the law of averages or large numbers, whatever you want to call it, where, if you have 100 or 1,000 cars, the annual or the monthly premiums collected from those are surely going to cover the 1, 2, 3 cars that have issues that month. So there's significantly more freedom in larger numbers. So if you're going to analyze your financial freedom perspective from a certain number, then I would say, you should count on maybe a third of that income. And then, that would cause you to have 3 times more properties than you think you need to in order to achieve that same level of freedom. And now I think we're getting more realistic even though it's still extraordinarily arbitrary. So just know that. That's my opinion. Don't be led astray. Tolu, good morning. I'm super pumped to see you. It's been a while. When renovating, are there any specific materials that significantly raise the property value? No. No, there are not. If you talk to appraisers, I think appraisers are going to be the ones that can really speak to this, right? Like I think hardwoods are in one category, LVP might be in another. I think like the floor coverings you use kind of cap out what a property is potentially worth. The countertops. If you're looking for like really top dollar, then countertops and floor coverings are probably where you're gonna really draw that in. But at the same time, I mean, we've got a company that is doing a lot of flips here locally. Sure, they're putting granite in all of their properties, but they're doing a really bad job installing them, and I think it's doing more damage than it is good. So I would say just doing things really nicely. If you are a contractor, and I think you do a decent amount of the work yourself, so the attention to detail is, I think, what gets a lot of people, right? Like if you undercut your doorways and whatnot, put the LVP under there, you're not leaving caulk exposed. Like I think those are the real big things. Like nobody wants to live in something where they need to buy a rug day one to cover up some imperfections in the craftsmanship that was done in that house. So I would say more important than the finishes are the ability to tighten everything up and have it be fully presentable. Don't cut any corners, right? Like if you look under the sink and your guy, or you see a big rectangle cut out to make way for the drain and the two water supply lines for the sink, tighten that up. Get it a little bit more accurate than just that big rectangle. I think those are the most important things, moreover than the finishes, because at the end of the day, a lot of these finishes that might be sought after are generally pretty cosmetic, pretty cheap to add at a later date for someone. So that would be my suggestion: is pay attention to the craftsmanship more so than the materials used. What we generally do when we're buying materials is we just kind of go for middle of the road stuff. We don't get the cheapest, we don't get the most expensive. And I think that's treated us really well. Good morning. You're the only real estate investor that I know that says it as it is. Real estate is not a get rich quick thing. Just believe it. Its benefit is long term. It sure is. The longer you're in it, the more appreciation, the more tax benefits, the more principal pay down, the more cash flow. I think all things considered, there's people that wear hats that say like cash flow is king. I think cash flow is definitely the best way to analyze a property because it's not speculative. It's something that you're going to immediately be able to count on from day one. However, cash flow is, at the end of the day, a very small way to make money from real estate investing. If you're in it for any length of time, the appreciation, the principal pay down, and those tax benefits are going to be far more substantial than the cash flow produced from these rental properties. So there's that. And I appreciate the kind words. I'm also one of the real estate investors with the smallest YouTube channels. And surprisingly, and maybe not coincidentally, I'm also one of the funniest. Self-proclaimed, of course. All right. Nope. View prediction high. Will real estate crash in 2022? So I've just, been going over these kind of on camera. I haven't been showing you this little app, but hey, the next one, view prediction high. Shift the law of equilibrium. Will the real estate market collapse? The housing market is changing. Here's what you need to know. Okay, that's less doom and gloom, but still implies that something is going to happen, that this video is the only way that you will get this information that will educate you appropriately on how to interact with the housing market. It's just a very, very, very weird way to go about this. It's just not like the traditional way of educating yourself. Like there's some books. One of my favorite is Schwab, Building Wealth One House at a Time. That's a fantastic book. It's kind of transcendent on any type of market that you've got going on, right? Top three most overvalued housing markets. Do not buy real estate in 2022 or ever. View prediction high. That's silly. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard. And I'm sitting here being asked to make a video, with that title. So, in rewards for a lot of views, by also leading people extraordinarily astray, because you should buy real estate in 2022, and you should always be buying real estate. If the market were as overpriced as it possibly could be, I would still be looking for deals based off, a percentage of the appraised values. Because if somebody is buying the house, then you've got comps to support that price. If a house goes up for sale for $400,000, where historically they've only sold for 200,000, no, but you shouldn't buy that $400,000 house. But I don't know of any real estate investor that has educated themselves in the slightest that would buy that house. However, as soon as that house sells, every other house in that neighborhood better be increasing the amount that they're listing for and they're selling for immediately to at least 300 grand, based on finishes. It might even be realistic if that one sells for 400 to start listing them for 450. And then if you've got homes selling for 400 and 450 in that neighborhood, and you've still got people out there that believe their house is worth $200,000, that maybe they inherit the house, they just want to get rid of it, and now you have the option to buy that house for 150,000. Hey, that's what you should do. That's the opportunity that a lot of real estate investors are out here looking for, that are the ones that are building wealth and making a business out of this, right? But then, hey, from the day that these homes stop selling for 400 and 450,000, and they go back to that $300,000 range, then you should treat your purchasing the same. The appropriate formula to buy a property is purchase price plus rehab costs is equal to or less than 75% of the after repair value. If you can execute that formula, if you can go out and find deals that meet that criteria, since it's percentage based, it really doesn't matter what that after repair value is, because you are making your offers based on the percentage of that appraised or after repair value. So long as you work that formula, work these percentages, you're going to be fine. And because, just like Tolu just said, it's the time. The time is the most important. So if you've got the time to sit around, let's say, you buy a house for 400 in this neighborhood, and now they start selling for 300 again. Well, you know what? If you have this property for 10, 15 years, if you're able to figure out some type of strategy to make it an income producing thing, or if you just love living there personally and you're willing to live there for 10, 15 years, you're going to be okay. It's not, you're only going to be out of money if you do something rash and move or sell it or panic, which, in real estate, it's pretty difficult to do. But this suggestion, do not buy real estate in 2022 or ever, nonsense, absolute nonsense. Are you worried about rising mortgage rates? I have a solution. That's another title. All right. I think I've proven my point about YouTube titles and their validity or even their relevance to your personal situation as it regards to buying real estate or not buying real estate, right? If somebody's going to be incentivized by you watching it, don't do that. Like, who's that guy that always makes a bunch of stock predictions where they've followed all of his picks, and you would be better off if you did the opposite of everything that he said, right? I think that's like the old school TV version of every single YouTube channel out there right now. Um, if one person thinks and convinces people that the sky is falling and all the people hop on Google and Google that, everybody's going to be incentivized to talk about that in order to build their followers or their subscriber base or their likes, whatever that is. So, hey, guard your hearts, guard your minds, be very careful of what you put into it, and take one step forward every single day to better your personal financial situation, your business, your marriage, your relationship with your kids, anything that it is. Just make progress on a daily basis and you'll be better off 10, 15 days from now, even more so months from now, even greater than years from now. So taking action and educating yourself, making educated decisions, and never forgetting to take action. That's the most important thing that you could possibly do. All that to say, again, emphasis on the fact that we really try hard to filter through these suggestions and only make videos based on the ones that don't fall into this like doom, gloom, hype, hysteria, theme. And we look for the ones that actually can provide some sort of substance, some sort of education, to where you're truly better off after you watch the video than you were beforehand. Because, hey, sometimes I get insomnia. I scroll around YouTube, watch too many YouTube shorts, right? There are a significant number of gurus out there that their entire, you can watch all the videos on their channel and they don't actually tell you anything. You're no closer to accomplishing anything after you've watched all their videos than beforehand. And that's a massive waste of your time. And I think we did it. I think we walked through all of the questions. There's one on here that I think is really funny. It's do this and don't listen to Dave Ramsey. I think that's really funny. I think I respect the man far too much to ever make a video with that title. I think, again, especially in personal finance and real estate, there are so many different ways to get to where you desire to be that, there's no one way to skin a cat in this. There's no one way to achieve whatever it is that you so desire. I think, general information, just cookie cutter across the general masses, I don't think it's necessarily a bad way to go, the advice that he gives. But I think if you've got your sights set on something that isn't congruent with what he is offering, then his plan might not be for you. But at the same breath, it is perfect for a significant amount of people. So I benefited greatly from everything that he has been so kind to put out and all the information. And I think, he's got the ability to help a significant, millions of more individuals. However, I have definitely deviated from his teachings since I have gotten into real estate investing. One of the ways that I did was our first duplex. I purchased it in cash. I paid $35,000 for it. It was rented out for about $1,000 per month, all of the things included. And, the management fee was 10%. They charged like a minimum service fee. I used a bad management company, and they really nickel and dimed me. And after owning the property, I bought that in August. On that year's tax return at the end of the year, all the dust settled, no loan. I made $1,700. So for 4 months, my return on a $35,000 investment was $1,700. Well, the second property that I purchased was a house that was recently renovated. I bought it for $28,000. I just spent $35,000 to acquire a duplex, but I really wanted this house because I thought it was a good deal. I mean, it was recently renovated. The whole thing cost $28,000. Newer roof, new kitchen, new bathroom, new flooring throughout, new HVAC. It was a great deal. Bought it for $28,000, put $7,000 down, took out a mortgage on the remaining $21,000 balance. My mortgage payment was $112.73. The property was rented out for $770 per month. So, compare that to an outlay of capital of $35,000 to get $1,000 per month. Well, now I outlaid $7,000 to receive, $770 per month. Now, sure, some of that is, allocated elsewhere, but $112.73 for a $21,000 mortgage, that's not so hateful. So I sat there and asked myself, how many times could I do this exact deal before I became uncomfortable? Because if I did this 10 times, then my mortgages would be a little over $1,100, but my gross revenues from these properties would be $7,700. So long as I was a good steward of these properties, kept the deferred maintenance at bay, kept the residents, happy, gave above average service to these, then it seems like there's very little that can go wrong. Not to mention, as appreciation occurs, as the principal pay down occurs, the more time that I'm able to keep this thing afloat, the more it makes sense. And that's when my mindset was shifted on that one a little bit, where I am perfectly happy to use debt as leverage to acquire more real estate and agreeing to pay a small percentage of the monthly revenues. So at that moment, I became comfortable with taking on as much debt as possible, so long as it was secured by real estate and so long as it also generates revenue. And you can't fit that in Dave's plan. And I think that's it. And I also need to skedaddle, get on over to the title company and purchase some properties. I forgot to tell you guys what we are buying today. I generally do that. Let's see. So today we are closing on three properties. One of them is really interesting. It has a house on it. We're buying that house. It's recently renovated. It's in good condition. It might need $2,000 to $3,000 of just like punch list work whenever the current people move out. However, it has a bonus house in the backyard. It is completely dilapidated and may make more sense to tear it down. However, it faces the alley. It's about 600 square feet. It's a 2-bed, 1-bath. So that's pretty cool. Now it's all in the same parcel. It's kind of a bonus. We are paying $65,000 for the house, and I think the after repair value is around $100,000. So we're doing okay, and that's not considering the second house on there. So it's truly that second house that's on there that's completely dilapidated. We could fix it up and rent that out as well, and that was not factored at all into our analysis of purchasing that property, which is cool. The second one is also rent ready. We went ahead and took all of the appropriate photos to get that thing listed yesterday. So it will be listed for rent today. And then the third one that we're purchasing, also rent ready. It is currently owner occupied. I have to double check, but I think that we are getting occupancy of that today. So sometimes whenever we're purchasing owner occupied properties, we allow them to stay for a pretty long time, depending on the deal that we get on the property. Sometimes it's at a greatly reduced rent. Sometimes it's at market rent. And sometimes it's just, for free, so long as they surely vacate by a certain date. We put in an offer yesterday for it. The property is listed for $115,000. We offered $85,000, and they need occupancy through December. So as part of our offer, we included the fact that they could stay there for free through December. So that offer was rejected, and so were a significant number of offers that we put in over this past week. And I will say that, I think a lot of investors discount the MLS pretty quickly, and they say, "Hey, the MLS is where deals go to die." I've heard that a lot. However, personally, I have found that sometimes the MLS is great and it kind of ebbs and flows, and sometimes you can just make a lot of low offers, and some of them will stick. And right now, we have tried that this past week, but our offers were rejected on about 4 or 5 properties. So I guess one of my challenges to you would be, if a property that you like is listed on the MLS for more than you're willing to pay for it, just do your analysis, figure out what the top dollar that you are able to pay for it is, and then offer that. If nothing else, it'll start the conversation. And who knows, you could be pleasantly surprised. We have gotten properties for, over 50% off that were listed on the MLS. So we think it's a great strategy, and we plan on always utilizing the MLS. And we have a steady stream of lower offers going out based on our analysis and what we could pay for properties realistically, and still manage to make money from the cash flow over time. So that's all I've got. Hey, I really appreciate all of you. I'm super thankful. I love this YouTube channel. I really appreciate everybody that shows up on a weekly basis. This is one of the highlights of my week on a weekly basis. I really love doing this. So it was great to see you all. And next Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be right here. Also, for the people that are regularly on, I mentioned last week that we were supposed to have a baby, and that I would still make this live stream so long as the baby wasn't born like 30 minutes before this was supposed to happen. And sure enough, we had the baby late last Friday, so around 7 p.m. on the day of the live stream. So it was fun. Everybody is healthy. Everybody is super happy. And that's our 5th kid. And the other 4 are doing a great job at being big siblings and helping take care and being really sweet to the newborn. So it's tons of fun. In regards to increasing property value in a local area, what are your thoughts on gentrification? I don't have any thoughts on gentrification, but I have tons of thoughts on getting rid of deferred maintenance inside of neighborhoods. I don't care who lives in the property. I just don't want there to be deferred maintenance on the property. I think it's really funny, but I think I'm a higher advocate for homes being in good shape than I am for any reverence of the people living inside of them. And that's an exaggerated point to say that cleaning up a neighborhood has nothing to do with the socioeconomic statuses of the people in that neighborhood. It has everything to do with just maintaining things properly. So that's how I feel. And if things are maintained properly, then the values of those things will increase. Nobody wants to live in a raggedy neighborhood where your neighbor's house has a massive hole in it, right? Those are the things that we need to fix. As far as who lives there, that'll work itself out as people buy these homes. But I have no thoughts on gentrification, all the thoughts on preserving the housing stock of this great nation. What a political speech. What are some of the business KPIs you look at on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? Number of homes delinquent. So we have a delinquency report that we monitor pretty closely, because this whole thing stops working when the money stops coming in. So you have to be diligent and dedicated to making sure that you are collecting the appropriate amount of money owed. Number of properties under contract, number of properties under renovation, and also lease renewals. So those are the big things that we monitor pretty regularly. And we're in the process of building out some software to help us stay on top of that. Hey, Veronica, good seeing you too. Thank you. Congrats. And yeah, so I need to go a couple times. I'm actually going to go now. So I appreciate it. Next Friday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be right here to answer any of the questions that you guys post on these videos throughout the week, and also the ones that we generate from the comments. All right, I will talk to you all soon.